Hello everyone, my name is Nicholas Morris, and today I'll be briefly describing human sexuality. We'll get into sex education a little bit and some theories. Alright, so first let's talk about what is human sexuality. Human sexuality is the way people experience and express themselves sexually. This involves biologically, erotic, physically, emotionally, social, or spiritual feelings or behaviors towards people. All right. Now, I just want to list out right now some vocabulary. We have incest taboo, and that's the prohibition against intercourse and reproduction among close blood relatives. We have values, and that's the qualities in life that are deemed important or unimportant, right or wrong, desirable or undesirable. We have foreplay, which is the mutual sexual stimulation that precedes sexual intercourse. We have behaviorists, and these are learning theorists who argue that a science approach to understanding behavior must refer only to observable and measurable behaviors. We have erotic. This means arousing sexual feelings or desires. We have fellatio, and that's the sexual activity involving oral contact with the penis. A sexologist is a person who engages in the scientific study of sexual behavior. Coitus, also referred to as sex, is the technical term for sexual intercourse. We have natural selection, which is the evolutionary process by which adaptive traits enable members of a species to survive and transmit the traits to their offspring. We have social desirability, and it's the response bias to a survey in which the person gives a sociable acceptable response. We have an hypothesis, which is a precise prediction about behavior tested through research. All right, now I'm going to get into some of the female organs. I'm just going to briefly hit them now. I'll explain them more later on. We have a vulva, which is the external sexual structure of the female. We have the urethral opening, which is the opening through which urine passes from the female body. We have the vagina, which is a tubular female sex organ that contains the penis during coitus and through which a baby is born. And we have the cervix, which is the lower end of the uterus. We have mammillary glands, which secrete milk when a woman is pregnant. All right, and a procedure that sometimes is performed to females is a clitorectomy, which is the surgical removal of the clitoris. All right, now into some of the men reproductive organs. Like I said, I'll hit it more later on. Is the prostate. It's the gland beneath the bladder. It secretes fluid that's given semen its odor and texture. We have the shaft, which is the body of the penis. It expands as a result of vasocongestion. And we have testicles, the male sex glands that produce sperm cells and sex hormones. Now, another procedure that men get a lot after when they have a certain amount of kids, they want any more kids or they don't want any kids at all. And that procedure is called a vasectomy. It's a sterilization procedure during which the vas deferens are sphered, like they're cut. So males can't produce kids, but that can get reversed later on if they wanted. We also have the penis. It's the male organ, you know. All right, so there are two theorists that I want to talk about, and well, there'll be three, but the one I want to hit right now is Masters and Johnson. Now, Masters, if I'm correct, was a gynecologist, and Johnson was a psychologist. And these two wanted to study the biology of sexuality. So doing this, I think it was in 1960 or 1966, they came up with the sexual response, and it was divided into 4 phases, or 3. A 4th one was added later on. These phases were excitement, plateau, and orgasm. These 4 phases happen in a linear way, with one coming after the other. The sexual response cycle wasn't complete without all occurring, but women had the capability to have multiple orgasms. So that was by Psychology Today. That was the reference. So to break it down a little more, let's see, female. All right, so now there was a 4th phase that was added in 1960 by Helen Singer Kaplan. He was a PhD. He added a 4th phase to Master and Johnson's sexual response cycle, which was what I was talking about earlier. And the 4th phase was called the resolution phase. It refers to the psychological changes that are produced when sexual arousal subsides and one returns to the pre-sexual state. So it's how you feel when you're not aroused. Pretty much, you know how when you engage in sexual contact that you feel a certain way. Obviously, your hormones are going crazy, but afterwards, you go back to your normal thinking. All right, so I want to get a little more into, oh, and by the way, that one about Kaplan, that little comment, that was from mentalhealth.net. So that was the reference for that little caption. Now, organs. Let's get into men's organs, or reproductive organs, to say. This is going to be from kidshealth.org, so people can relate. It's going to be very simple. So the males, they have testicles. Let's see. The testicles are part of the endocrine system, and they produce hormones, including testosterone. Testosterone is a major part of puberty in guys, and as a guy makes his way through puberty, his testicles produce more and more of it. Testosterone is the hormone that causes guys to develop deeper voices, bigger muscles, and body and facial hair. It also stimulates the production of sperm, which is used to produce. Alongside the testicles are the epididymis and the vas deferens, which make up the duct system of the male reproductive organs. The vas deferens is a muscular tube that passes upward alongside the testicles and transports the sperm-containing fluid called semen. The epididymis is a set of coiled tubes, one for each testicle, that connects to the vas deferens. The epididymis and the testicles hang in a pouch-like structure outside of the pelvis called the scrotum. The bag of skin helps to regulate the temperature of the testicles, which need to be kept cooler, and the body temperature to produce sperm. All right. So that's pretty much, in other words, to make it simpler, you have two long tubes, also known as the vas deferens, that go down, right? They're connected to the testicles. And this is how semen travels to the penis and to be ejected later on. All right, the female organs is the external part of the female reproductive. This is also going to be from kidshealth.org. The external part of the female reproductive organs is called the vulva, which means covering. Located between the legs, the vulva covers the opening to the vagina and other reproductive organs located inside the body. The fleshy area located above the top of the vaginal opening is called the mons pubis. 2 pairs of skin flaps called the labia, which also means lips, surround the vagina opening. The clitoris, a small sensory organ, this is to make this age appropriate. This is that little bead that women have. is located in the front of the vulva where the folds of the labia join. Between the labia are openings to the urethra. This is the canal that carries urine from the bladder to the outside of the body and vagina. Once girls or women mature, the outer labia and the mons pubis are covered by pubic hair. A female internal reproductive organs are the vagina, the uterus, the fallopian tubes, and the ovaries. The vagina is a muscular, hollow tube that extends from the vaginal opening to the uterus. The vagina is about 3 to 5 inches, or 8 to 12 centimeters, long in a grown woman. Because it has muscular walls, it can expand and contract. The ability to become wider or narrower allows the vagina to accommodate something as slim as a tampon and as wide as a baby. The vagina's muscular walls are lined with mucous membranes, which keep it protected and moist. The vagina has several functions: for sexual intercourse, for the pathway that a baby takes out of the body during childbirth, unless they have a C-section, and it's a route for the menstrual cycle. That's a time of the month where women ovulate when you finally hit that certain age. I think it's 12 or 13 for women, and they start to bleed. All right. And that was from kidshealth.org. Let's see. So I also want to talk about the sexual desire phases that were included in some of the stuff we read, and that was thoughts, fantasies, motivation to engage in sexual activity. The second phase, well, that was the first phase. The sexual desire phase is the first phase, all right, and it includes thoughts, fantasies, and motivation to engage in sexual activity. The second phase is sexual arousal. It includes both physical and subjective arousal. All right. Now, to slide off topic a little bit till we come back to the third phase, I want to talk about vasocongestion, which refers to the engorgement of blood vessels for men. For men, vasocongestion produces a penile erection, swollen testes, and the scrotums moves up towards the body. For women, vasocongestion leads to the swelling of the clitoris and vaginal lips, vaginal lubrication, and the enlargement of the uterus. All right. Now, the third phase is called sexual orgasm. And this begins once arousal reaches its peak. All right. So your body changes, it intensifies because your heart rate may increase, respiration, your blood pressure increases sharply, all right? And there's a discharge and a series of muscular contractions in the pelvic region. And I think that's all I have to cover today. A little more vocabulary is sexology, and that's a scientific study of sex, especially for sexual dysfunctions. An ovaryectomy is a surgical removal of the ovaries. Kaplan, which we mentioned a little bit earlier, was a developer of sexual responses. Emissions is the first phase of ejaculation. Ejaculation is when a man is hitting his peak or orgasm, and semen is leaving the penis. Now I want to talk a little bit how reproduction comes into play. So when a man and a woman engage in coitus, the penis is then inserted into the vagina. At this point, they proceed to engage in coitus, and eventually each other reach a peak. Now, when a man reaches the peak, he releases semen. This semen then but it goes into the vagina and it up to the cervix and tries to find an egg. All right. Now, watching some videos that were posted up in class, it is shown that if a woman has an orgasm while a man ejaculates, the uterus will actually push the semen up towards the eggs, which I thought was pretty interesting. I never knew that either. Therefore, to make reproduction more likely to happen. A mastectomy, which is the surgical removal of the entire breast. People who usually get this are women, obviously, but men can get it too, and it mostly happens with surgical cancer. Breast cancer. Yeah, and another thing I want to mention is sexual desire or mate selection is something I want to touch on, because it was proven, there was some research done, that a woman is more likely to be attracted to a man with one attractive name. Believe it or not, that's not even something you can control until you're 18, obviously. Clear eyes and a more, what is it called? Structured face, like, you know, the nice cheekbones and everything like that. So yeah, this is my presentation. Sorry about the stuttering a little bit, a little shy, but thank you guys for watching.